Hello there. Hi, my name's Dean Milburn. I am the resort executive chef here at the Vale Resort. So I oversee the entire food operation here at the resort, which includes 2 restaurants, 2 bars, the conference and banqueting division, and also Hensel Castle, which is primarily a wedding venue. Today I'm going to be making you a maple glazed confit leg of duck. Well, confit is when you cook something submerged in fat. So what it does, it breaks down tough muscles and adds flavor to what could otherwise be bland cuts of meat. Leg of duck is a perfect example. It is a very tough cut of meat. It needs a long, slow process to tenderize those muscles, break down the connective tissue in there, and make it a very, very enjoyable, more edible product. Confitting takes a very long time, a very long, slow, low heat process, which we don't have time for today. So I'm going to show you how to get it started, then I'm going to finish the dish with a few pieces of duck that I have already prepared. So first thing you'd want to do is salt your duck legs before cooking. Just give them a nice, generous little sprinkling of salt. You'd want to let them sit for a few hours. This will draw some of the extra moisture out and begin to add the flavor to the duck leg. Once that's sat for a few hours, just give it a quick rinse, or else it could be overly salty when it's finally finished. Then the next thing you'd want to do is add a bit of aromatics to your duck. Just a few ingredients to add a bit of extra flavor to it. I like to add a few bay leaves. Just crush them up and right in. Also like to add a few slices of orange. The acid and the flavor from the orange works wonders with duck. No need for any fancy cuts on this. You're not going to be using the product when it's done. Just a few slices right in there to help flavor the duck. As we said, the whole point of confitting is to submerge your meat in fat and slow cook it that way. So we've got a mix here of just some veg oil with a bit of duck fat added into it for that extra flavor. We're going to cover that duck. Make sure all the meat's nice and submerged. Next, you want to make sure your duck is covered. Just get a nice sheet of tin foil. Make sure the pan is fully covered. Don't really want any direct heat on the duck. Confitting is definitely an indirect cooking process. Then once we're all wrapped up, we're going to put our duck into a preheated Rational oven set for 140 degrees. Like I said, a nice slow cooking process. What we would normally do is we do 50 to 60 at a time. Large batches, exactly like we've done there, but laid out in large gastro trays, all covered, slow roasted overnight for about 12 hours at about 85 degrees. We are going to begin the mise en place for the rest of the dish. Mise en place literally translates to everything in its place. So that's pretty much what you need to know. It's all about getting yourself organized, getting your ingredients ready, getting your spices, your equipment. As you see, I have a couple of pots on, I have some water, I have a pan, I have my char grill to do the gem lettuce. I have all the ingredients and equipment that I need to do this dish. That is what your mise en place means. So while the duck is cooking, the first thing I'm going to do is start my potatoes. On my dish today, I'm going to be giving you the maple glazed confit leg of duck, coming with smoked bacon, potato and pea hash, and char grilled gem lettuce. So the first thing I want to do, medium dice my potato. The medium dice is about a 1/2 inch square. I get my vegetables, fruit and vegetables, from a local supplier called WR Bishop's. I love using local suppliers. Build up a good reputation, build up a good working relationship with people. It's nice to support the local economy, and it's nice to use local products, cut down on food mileage, help the sustainability of the industry, do what we can for climate change. You can see I didn't bother peeling it. I don't mind this being a bit of a rustic dish, so a little bit of skin left on a couple of the cubes of potato isn't going to hurt anyone. Get my nice batons there. Then I'm going to cut my batons into my nice medium dice. I'm going to par cook them in some salted water. So what I want to do is basically just draw the starch out so the potatoes don't oxidize, and also want to kind of kickstart the cooking process of the potatoes a bit, so when we go to do the bacon and pea hash, it doesn't take quite so long. And you do not want to cook them fully. At that size, maybe about 6 minutes in boiling water. Like I said, just to cook them about halfway, and then also to pull the starch out. Next thing I'm going to do while my potatoes are on, I am going to render some smoky bacon. Oh, I took 2 rashers of bacon, cut them down into some nice thin lardons, which is just a fancy name of saying chopped bacon. The rendering process will pull all the fat out of the bacon, so you don't want to start with a lot of fat in your pan to begin with, or else your finished dish is going to be greasy. Get our bacon in there. Should sizzle straight away. If it doesn't, pan's obviously not hot enough. As you can see, it does stick a little bit at the beginning, which is why we added the oil. We're just going to let that bacon start to cook down. So, don't rush the bacon. We want it nice and crispy. We want to get lots of fat out. So, just let that keep going. Keep on rendering down. You see I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the pan too. 2 reasons for that. A, you don't want anything stuck to the bottom of the pan to catch and burn. That'll ruin your whole dish. Second, that's nothing but flavor. So I want to break that up to make sure all that nice crispy bits that's sticking to the bottom of the pan gets mixed back in. While our bacon is finishing off there, I'm just going to strain our potatoes off. Got them nice and par cooked. You still don't want to, if you're able to smush them, they're overcooked, and it's best just to start over. So they're still nice and firm, can't crush them by hand, so they're still quite undercooked, which is what we want for this dish. Now we're looking good. Nice and crispy, good color, good crispness, no pale hunks of fat left on it. 1 more minute there. 1 more minute, just get those last couple of pieces crisped down. Now we've got our bacon nice and crispy, plenty of fat there on the bottom, but not too much to make the dish greasy. And then we want to give our potatoes a good fry off in that bacon fat. Get some nice color on the potatoes, nice flavor. So gonna let those potatoes fry off a bit until they get nice and golden. Next thing we are going to add is a little bit of shallots. A few slices. Once again, this is a bit more of a rustic presentation, so I'm not going to bother fine dicing it. Just some nice slices. I want people to see each ingredient, so I don't want anything too small to get lost in the overall dish. So, just a couple of slices. About 20 grams of shallots is plenty. Once we got some good color on our potatoes, which you can see we're starting to get some nice golden brown there, we're going to add our shallots. Well, food safety has to be the #1 priority. I don't care how good you are, how pretty a dish is, how good it tastes. If you're not being food safe, you've failed as a chef. So, clean boards, clean areas, clean hands, #1. Always make sure these days you're using the correct color. Helps eliminate cross-contamination. So you see I chopped my shallots, which was a raw root vegetable, on a brown board. I've got my orange and my lettuce, which are ready to eat fruits and salads, on a green board. And I chopped my bacon earlier on a red board. So food safety has to be #1. All right, so there we go. My shallots are softening up. My potatoes are getting nice and crispy. My bacon's smelling lovely. Next is going to be touch of sage. Just a touch. Sage is a very, very powerful herb, so you don't ever want to use too much. Then our last step for the hash, once we've got all our ingredients in there, sweated down, crisped up, mixed together lovely, and add a nice little bit of a good pre-made chicken stock. Literally just some roasted chicken bones, nice bit of mirepoix, so chopped onions, celery, carrots, some peppercorns, some bay leaves. Stew that down for 4 hours, strain it off, cook it down until you get a nice jelly. Not too much. You don't want this dish to be overly watery. You just want enough liquid to add a bit of flavor to finish cooking the potatoes. So we've got our mix there ready. And we're just going to put that back on the stove. Nice low heat. Let that simmer down. Next thing, while our potatoes are stewing away, we are going to go ahead and get the duck leg ready for our finished product. So this has been our confit duck. What we do here, because this is a very popular dish here at the grill restaurant at the Vale. As I said previously, we do these in batches of 50 or 60 legs at a time. Then we blast chill them down. Once again, food safety. Time and temperature is a very important process of food safety also. Make sure your food always stays out of that temperature danger zone. So once the legs have been confit, we blast chill them down, we vac pack them, and then we can freeze them down and use exactly what we need to cut down on food wastage. So, got my lovely duck leg here. Nice and tender, meat's falling off the bone, so you gotta be very, very careful with it. What I'm going to do here is put this in a nice little pan. I am going to very, very generously cover that with some maple syrup. Because as an American, I can assure you, you never have enough maple syrup. Got our pre-cooked duck leg, pre-made chicken stock, nice general coating with the maple syrup, little bit of butter to help finish the sauce. And then that will go right back into the rationale, this time on a nice high heat. So you want 180, you want high heat, high fan to get a good crisp on that skin. My career has kind of been a roller coaster, I have to say, across a couple of continents, a couple of countries. Started out very young, 13 years old with a summer job, washing pots at a local country club. And just enjoyed seeing what was going on in the kitchen, so tried to get a bit of training. Just worked really hard, proved that I could do the dishes really well. Always willing to learn and help out. Got taught a few tricks. The next summer I went back as a prep cook. The next summer I went as an actual chef, so at 16 years old, I was a chef at a local seafood restaurant in Baltimore. Next thing you know, I'm in Wales. Head chef of a resort, living the dream. So I'm what you call a lifer. I've been doing it my whole life. I love it. Couldn't imagine doing anything else. So I just love most of the aspects of it. It's a very hard job. It's hot, it's sweaty. You can be unappreciated at times, but you can also have so much fun. The camaraderie you get working with the others so close in such a high pressure environment, I don't think can be matched anywhere else. Just the fact that you can be such an integral part of someone's day. Just take weddings, for example, to know this is one of the most important days in most people's lives. And as a chef, you can play such a big role in that. To finish up our dish, got some gem lettuce here. So this is going to be with a char grilled gem. So the first thing we want to do with this, peel off any of these nasty outer edges. Anything that's torn, scarred, soft, discolored. Gonna have to take about 2 or 3 levels off. Just want to get to nice, bright, pale green. There we are. We're going to want to split that directly in half. Take a nice little bit of the core off. You don't want to take too much of the core out because you want to hold the leaves together. We are literally going to serve it as a whole head. Give your gem a good wash to make sure there's no sandy bits up in there. Once again, be careful that you don't actually pick the leaves off the core. And make sure you get in between there and get any possible dirt or soil out. Literally for about 10 seconds, swoop, into some heavily boiling water. Just want to soften up those inner leaves a tiny little bit. Touch of oil. And a quick flash on a nice hot char grill. That smoky, bitter char grilled taste goes well with the duck and the maple and the bacon. And then lastly, for our hash, get that back on the stove, 80 grams of peas. And we're just going to gently simmer them until they're cooked through. We've got a lovely bit of duck leg here. You can see hopefully the color change now, that maple glaze, nice high heat in the rationale. Got us a nice caramelization on the skin. Skin's crisping up nicely, nice and sticky from the maple syrup on there. Our sauce is just about ready to go. We are going to plate up, and we're going to get our pan back on the heat to reduce that sauce a bit more, intensify those flavors. For a nice bit of garnish, all I want to do here, I'm just going to crispy fry some sage. So you'll see it goes from that pale green to a nice bright emerald green. A nice crispy sage is always a good idea for garnish. Drain it on some blue roll, because once again, we don't want any excess fat. So we want to get any of the fryer oil off of that. We're just going to get a nice mound of our hash right dead center of the plate. Like I'd said before, going kind of rustic. So it doesn't have to be molded, doesn't have to be presented to perfect. We're going to let the flavors and let the ingredients speak for themselves. We don't bacon, it's all speaking for itself. A nice little bit of our gem lettuce right in one corner of the plate. Very, very carefully, because as I said, confit duck, the meat should be falling right off the bone, so you got to be very careful with it. Lay that right across the middle of your plate. Make sure your bone's sticking straight up, and then look at that sauce. Look at what we did. Just put that on for, what was that on, for a minute? So we put that duck on for 1 minute, and then just pour that maple glaze all over. Decadence in a bowl. Couple of our nice little sage leaves here. Maybe just one crumbled up and sprinkled over the dish. All right, so here is our finished product. We have a maple glazed confit leg of duck with a smoked bacon, potato, and pea hash, char grilled gem lettuce, and a lovely little maple pan sauce. I'd eat it. I'm gonna eat it actually, so